Hi and welcome. Today I will share with you a bit about autumn equinox, sometimes also referred to as Mabon, which comes from like the Celtic traditions where Mabon was the son of a goddess. And I will not dive into that. There's enough out there so that you can find out where this name comes from. But today I will share about what autumn equinox is about, the themes of this time of year, and how you can celebrate it in your life. And so, as the name suggests, equinox is something with equal, meaning that day and night are almost equal length. Now, they don't line up completely due to some physical circumstances, but they are almost the same length, day and night, and this obviously happens 2 times a year. It happens in the spring and in the autumn, and this year like now we come into autumn, to the autumn equinox, and it's a time of balance, like day and night or light and darkness are balancing each other. And usually here in the Northern Hemisphere, it happens between the 21st and 23rd of September. And in the Southern Hemisphere, it happens between March 20th and March 22nd. And the exact time or the exact day that it happens differs a little because it's calculated according to when the sun is reaches the highest point above the equator at local time. So it might vary wherever you are in the world, and you can look that up on the internet as well if you're interested. But just around the 21st and 23rd September is when that happens. And autumn equinox is one of the 8 festivals in the Wheel of the Year. The Wheel of the Year representing the cycle of life in its totality, from winter solstice, kind of like the darkest, lowest place, all the way up to summer solstice with its peak, and then back down again. And autumn equinox is kind of the midpoint between winter solstice and summer solstice. So when the sun moves down on the horizon, and at that midpoint is when we celebrate autumn equinox. And as I shared before, there is also spring equinox as its opposite, which is also a time of balance, because again, day and night are of almost equal length. But now at autumn equinox, it's more a balancing and then preparing to turn inward into the dark half of the year. And at spring equinox, it's a balancing and coming out of and turning towards the planting, the blooming, the turning without. And right now, autumn equinox is the second of 3 harvest festivals in this Wheel of the Year. And its energy is similar to the last quarter. I mean, if you, as I shared just now, the winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, they are all quarters, and now the last quarter of the cycle, so to speak, is beginning. And that's the same or similar energy to waning moon, the waning last quarter moon in a moon cycle. And that's also a similar energy to the premenstrual time when we have a menstrual cycle, a natural menstrual cycle. Now, that doesn't mean that that time of your cycle should sync up with where the moon is. It just means that whenever that happens in your menstrual cycle and you begin your last quarter, that's when the energies that I will describe are present. And so you can tap into them. And the energetic quality of this time, if we look outside, we often realize that the leaves are slowly turning colorful. And that is because it's a time of drawing back inwards. And so the trees are deciding what of the nutrients they want to keep or need to keep, to store, for the winter. And so they draw back everything they need and store it in their roots. And so for us, it's enjoyable to look at the colorful leaves that are falling off the trees, but it's a time of drawing our energies back inwards and of deciding what we want to keep, what we need to store to make it through this dark half of the year. It's also a time where harvest is still going on, and we pick fruits and vegetables, and we make preserves of them for the dark half, and a time of digesting the experiences of summer, or maybe the insights and everything that happened, and to release what needs releasing at this moment. And if you would like to honor this time right now, it can be very small things in your daily life. For example, you could create an autumn altar, and it could be a little corner in a room, or a small table that you prepare, or simply a bowl, and you put on it everything that reminds you of autumn. So, for example, the colorful leaves that I talked about, pine cones, or chestnuts, or even some like grapes and apples. If you like that, just be careful that they don't that you eat them while they are still eatable. And really just any color, any symbol that you connect with autumn, and then you can tap into that autumn energy whenever you look at that space that you've prepared. Another way is to make small offerings. So instead of putting the grapes and the apples into your corner or onto your altar, you could also place them outside, under trees, or on your balcony somewhere, so that the elementals do have something to enjoy and to express your gratitude for this bountiful harvest. And another thing another version how you can honor this time of year is by start thinking about your winter projects. And I don't mean for work, not all the things you have, quote unquote, to do, but I'm talking about the things that you would really love to do on these cold and long winter nights. For example, it could be knitting or crochet. It could be drawing if you have never tried and always wanted to try, or if you don't allow that space in your life, but you actually enjoy it. Anything that sparks your interest, and often something that has to do with handicrafts, because what women of all ages used to do was give their hands something to do. They would be spinning, they would be weaving, they would be they would be knitting, they would be of course doing a lot of household related stuff. We at this day and age don't need to do that much in the household anymore, luckily. But so we can find some other way of using our hands to do something. Could be drawing mandalas, just because when we give our hands something to do, our mind has a chance to wander, to open up, to go places. And I'm not talking about let your thoughts take over, of that you're wasting your time doing these things. I'm talking about really opening more than your mind, like opening your whole being to wisdom that might come through at this time. How you would, for example, like to implement the insights you gained, anything, but just having something to do for your hands, so the rest of your body and mind and soul can be open to receive the messages you need to receive, potentially for whatever you want to plant in in the new year. And when we look at the themes of Autumn Equinox, they reflect all of what I've shared, or rather, all of what I've shared reflects these themes at this time, which is a saying goodbye to summer, to harvesting also the insights that you've gained, to harvesting or simply process experiences you've had. Maybe you were on vacation and had a joyful time, or maybe something happened and you went through a lot emotionally, to really find some way of closure for yourself. And for some people, this time can be really hard. This moment where we realize, oh, the hustle and bustle of summer is really over, and now it's time to go back inwards. And that can be especially hard when there are some unresolved issues within us. But it can also be just that you're very sensitive to the energetic qualities in nature. And so while some people might enjoy that now everything is going a little more quietly, a little more slowly, they finally don't have this intensity of summer anymore, and they really like that, others can have their trouble with it, with adjusting. And especially in those moments, it can help to find a closing ritual, to sit down and reflect on what has happened over the summer, and then express your gratitude and release. Yeah, and gratitude is already another theme of this time of year, because while during the first harvest festival, which was roughly 6 weeks ago, Lunasa, it was the first harvest festival, and the focus was more on the joy and the abundance of nature while harvesting. And now this focus shifts more to the deep gratitude for the harvest, and that we are able to preserve food, so we've got something to eat during the winter. And yeah, this gratitude comes with, often, I know it's a little bit cliche by now, yeah, gratitude, practice your gratitude, but it's so true. The energy of gratitude really anchors you in the present moment, and it anchors you into this feeling of, you know what, despite all the stuff going on out there, it's really right. Life is good. And this kind of serenity or peace is also very helpful to balance the darkness, the going inwards that is happening now. Then also it's a good time to reflect on harmony and inner balance. What's your inner balance like? Is like the different areas in your life, do they feel enjoyable? Do they feel like they are truly you, or are there areas that have gotten out of balance? And what might you need to do to bring them back into balance? Also, speaking of harmony, what does your home look like? Do you find harmony, or the harmony that you're looking for? Because harmony means different things to different people, but the harmony you might be looking for, does your home reflect that? So when you open your eyes in the morning after having slept, what kind of room do you look at? Is it like, does it express the feelings that you would like to feel, or the state you would like to be in? And then also it's a time of deep reflection, of similar to the saying goodbye of summer. It's looking at, what have I harvested? What are the lessons? So maybe when things haven't turned out the way we wanted, what are the lessons I could learn? And how do I want to implement them in the next cycle? And before that next cycle comes, please remember there is a winter phase. So after having distilled all these lessons, it's first time to rest before we put these lessons back into action. Yeah. And so the rituals, I want to share a few rituals with you that you can do alone, some of them for yourself, some of them in a group, though you could probably adjust them for whatever purposes or however you'd like to celebrate. But they, of course, also reflect these themes of autumn equinox. And so the first one I invite you to do is a gratitude journal. As I shared, it has become a bit of a cliche, but it comes with so much ease and serenity when we allow us to really feel the gratitude, and not just in our head, like really feel it reverberating through our body. And that's why I suggest that you write down one thing, not 3, not 5, not 10 every day, but one thing that you are grateful for and why. And this why is so important, because why you are grateful for it shows you the importance of that aspect in your life. And that anchors it even more and gets us out of this thinking, yeah, I do my gratitudes, but gets us more into a state of, okay, why is it important? And that settles us back into our body and really feeling it. And then I do have a little reflection ritual for you to review the last year or everything that has happened since the new year. And you could take your notebook and pen and just sit down, play a bit of relaxing music if you like, maybe light a candle or an incense stick, or just diffuse some essential oils, whatever is your flavor. And I invite you to ponder and journal about the following questions. What are the gifts you received during this year? The harvest. What are the gifts you received during this year? Which of them were desired? Which of them did you plant deliberately? And which of them came surprisingly? So which of the gifts were desired and which of them came surprisingly? Were there any gifts that you didn't like to receive as much as others? And what did you learn through them? Maybe you learned something about yourself, about other people, or about life. And what would you like to continue nurturing and growing next year? So basically, what of the harvest do you want to take with you? What new seeds would you like to plant in the different areas of your life? Enjoy. And an idea for a group ritual is, I mean, you probably do that depending on where you are in the world. I know in the Americas it's very popular to celebrate Thanksgiving with the family. But you could also just come together with your friends, with a close circle of friends, or a women's group, men's group, and celebrate Thanksgiving with a Thanksgiving fire, like a bonfire. And you can even collect the wood yourself if you like, and then you just prepare that fire and you sit around it and you express gratitude for each other, to each other, telling each person what you appreciate about them, and they of course telling you what they appreciate about you and why you are important in their life or why they are important in your life. And I like this so much because we often have a very hard time saying what we appreciate about ourselves or what gifts and talents we have. And that's partly because in the societies we live in, we've been raised to not brag, to be modest and humble and play small, basically. But also because our gifts, our greatest gifts, they come naturally to us. They come to us so easily that we don't even realize it's a gift to someone else. And that's why it's so important to reflect that back to each other, what we really truly appreciate about the other. Yeah, and if you want to learn more about autumn equinox, I still have got a few more things on my blog, and I will link you the article to it below this video. And if you are interested in connecting with the cycles more, as I shared, like the Wheel of the Year represents the whole cycle of life, I do write a weekly soul letter in my soul mail, and you can subscribe to that, and you will receive reminders of the different phases that we're moving into from week to week on a collective in the moon cycle, and also some information on how that transfers to your personal cycle, whether it's menstrual cycle or whether you've already, for example, crossed into menopause and you cycle with the moon. Then you will in any case, you will receive some ideas or my personal insights on how we can make, for example, the transitions between the different phases easier, and how we can really enjoy the powerful gifts the cycles have for us. And yeah, now over to you. I would be very interested what piqued your interest, what was new to you, what resonated, what didn't resonate, what did you find interesting, what are you taking away from this little video. And you can write a comment, you can send me a mail, you will find also that information below. You can hit me up on socials and just get in touch. I would love to hear from you. And now I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Much love.